that can never be described as being the best of nations. And look, for example, but before that, this responsibility of ordering the good and forbidding the evil is a collective responsibility. It's not just for the imam, or just for the people with the beards, or just for the speakers. It's a collective responsibility. It's a collective characteristic. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Tawbah, Al-mu'minuna wal-mu'minat ba'duhum awliya'u ba'd, that the believers, the men and the women, are friends and protectors of one another. يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. They order the good and they forbid the evil. وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةِ. They perform or they establish the prayer and they give the poor due, the zakah. وَيُطِيعُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. And they obey Allah and they obey His Messenger. أُولَٰئِكَ سَيَرْحَمُهُمُ اللَّهُ. All of those individuals that possess those qualities, Allah will show mercy to them. إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. Indeed, Allah is mighty and wise. So if we want to be described as al-mu'minun, or if the sisters listening want to be described as al-mu'minat, then we have to also have these characteristics of ordering the good and forbidding the evil. But similarly, before we get perhaps too happy in being described as the best nation raised up for mankind, let's not forget what the outcome of those previous nations who forgot this principle of ordering the good and forbidding the evil, what was their outcome? So, I'll cast your attention to Bani Israel. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I won't read the Arabic because it will take too long, but in Surah Ma'idah, in verses 78 to 79, Allah says, the disbelievers were cursed. The disbelievers from Bani Israel were cursed upon the tongue of Dawood and Isa ibn Maryam. Imagine that. How wretched is that? Your own prophet is cursing you. But why? Because they disobeyed and they were rebellious. What was their rebellion? كانوا لا يتناهون عن المنكر. They didn't need to forbid one another from the evil that they used to do. And what's an evil thing that they used to practice and do? This led them to be cursed. And it's for no reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions them to us in the Quran. And it's for no reason that the Prophet ﷺ said that indeed you will follow the nations that came before you, foot by foot, handspan by handspan, such that if one of them were to enter into a lizard hole, one of them would also enter into a lizard hole. And he was asked, Ya Rasulullah, are you referring to the Jews and the Christians? He said, if not them, then who else? So we need to be wary about discharging this great responsibility of ordering the good and forbidding the evil. The consequences of not ordering the good and forbidding the evil are huge. Before we talk about what is the evil that we need to forbid and what is the good that we need to order, with regard to ordering the good and forbidding the evil, there's really two extremes. And this is what we're seeing actually amongst many of the Muslims today. There's two extremes. The one extreme is the kind of passive, indifferent Muslim who doesn't really care what's happening around him. He's not bothered that perhaps his Muslim friends, colleagues, his Muslim family are not praying, are not fasting, not performing the basic duties that a Muslim should carry out. He's not really bothered that perhaps his sister or his mother or his wife don't observe the Islamic code of dress. He's going on his merry way in life. And you might see some people that are criticizing, what he calls criticizing, which we would perhaps call ordering the good and forbidding the evil. And they say, look, these people, they do stupid stuff all the time. You know, just live and let live. Let bygones be bygones. You know, I'm going to be judged by myself. You know, like, you know, Islam is my own personal space. Don't interfere in my personal space, and I'm not going to interfere in your personal space. This concept that we've actually inherited from other faiths, that Islam is just about the personal. It is about the personal. If you by yourself, you're on Qiyamah. But it's also a ummah, we're an ummah. It's a collective body. The Prophet didn't come to preach in a corner, or just do dhikr in a corner. He came and announced the religion of Islam. He came and forbade the evil, and he ordered the good. So that's one extreme. But then we also have another extreme. People, because they don't understand the nature of ordering the good and forbidding the evil. They don't understand the principles by which you order the good and forbid the evil. That they find that if someone were to prostrate to an idol, and another person perhaps were to raise his hands in prayer, that they both deserve an equal level of forbidding the evil. And that sometimes you find them with a magnifying glass, checking the actions of other Muslims, or checking the writings of other Muslims. They make one little mistake, or one little error, perhaps unintentionally, or perhaps it was a misconception that he had about the words of this writer, and they announced him to be the greatest innovator that ever lived. That you shouldn't talk to him, shouldn't read his books, should abandon him, don't say salam to him, because he's committed this great crime. And as a result of that, because it's oppressive, because it's beyond measure, it's led to schisms amongst the Muslims. And it's actually helped. It actually helps that first group of people, who all they see is people arguing amongst themselves. Hopefully you can see these two things. Maybe you don't all see them in society, but they're there, they're present, and I've seen them. But we need to be in the middle. We need to follow the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ. And that will be Sahaba. Because the Sahaba, they forbade the evil. But it didn't stop them from behaving as one ummah, as brothers. And they recognize those evils that result in disunity. This is something that I cannot compromise on. And they recognize those issues that it's permissible to differ over, even though my opinion may be different from the opinion of my fellow Muslim brother. So this area of ordering the good and forbidding the evil, although it's a collective responsibility in everyone, but there's certain the rules, conditions that we have to follow when adopting this noble task of ordering the good and forbidding the evil.